My name is Anjani, and this is going to be a short video about breaking patterns and addictions. So I'm going to be using a topic from my life that was one of my hardest and most challenging addictions to break. So there's many, different forms of addiction. It doesn't all have to be addictions to drugs. I've never had an addiction to an actual drug. But one of my mentors showed me an addiction that I did have, which was to a person, actually. In 2012, I met a guy who, on paper, was probably the least qualified. And he would agree. And, if he ever watches this, I'm sure that he would agree. And it's funny because we both knew. And, when he tells his side of the story, he even says, like, well, I didn't think she would like me. So I just, he was excited that I was having him over and cooking food. And we were having sex and it was great. And, so he was absolutely not qualified. It was not a good match, but it was fun. And I ended up buying him a ticket to come to India with me to see my teacher. And I was going to be teaching a teacher training, and he was going to be a student in the yoga teacher training course, because I also paid for his school for that. And so that was fine. We had a lot of fun. It was fun. And I started to pick up on some things that were really red flags for me, and things that I had never experienced before in relationships. So usually when I would be in relationships, the guys who I've dated in the past were excited and happy to be with me. So we walked into a room together. He was so proud to have me with him, and I never felt inferior in any way. And I was dating guys, I've had two boyfriends who were in the NBA, different teams, different phases of life, just, happened to meet. A couple who were in, professional basketball players overseas, and lawyers and doctors, and, really, just partners who were professional and treated me like a queen. So this relationship I had, it was really surprising to me, and I had no idea how to handle it. And I thought that it was my own weakness, that I should be able to handle the things that he was doing, which, we were sitting at a cafe in India once, over a meal that I was buying, of course, which, I paid for all the meals, and he was asking me to buy him clothes and things for his family and friends, and even, he wanted me to buy a gift for his ex-girlfriend, which I didn't, but it just crazy things. So we were sitting having a meal, and I'm looking at him talking, looking him right in his eye, and we're having a conversation, and he just keeps staring off in that direction. So I finally look over, and it's this beautiful girl that he's just staring at her and totally ignoring what I'm saying. I didn't say anything about it, but just over time, we were there for about 6 weeks. So over the time we were there, I noticed that it was just more and more intense. And he would even strike up conversations with beautiful women, and, where are you from? And what's your name? And I'm just sitting there oh my God, I don't know what to do. This is crazy. So we did have a couple of conversations, and I don't remember what they were, and it doesn't matter. But on the flight home, I broke up with him. He was sick and just during the time we were in India, he fell down a mountain one day when we were hiking. And that was pretty much like the end of it for me, because to me, if we go hiking and you're just like, not saying that if, a guy falls and has an accident that it's a, game over, but the accumulation of, him asking me to buy him things, and it just was not attractive to me anymore. So the flight home, he got sick and couldn't keep it together and was like laying on me and crying and complaining. And I broke up with him on that flight and told him that I already had 2 kids and I didn't need another one. And that was fine. I think we were broken up for a couple of days, and I somehow ended up like, okay, we can still date, or at some other level than what we were headed toward, which was like a committed relationship. And I soon after found out that I was pregnant, and I immediately called Planned Parenthood to get an abortion, and he begged me not to and said to give him till Friday, and that he swore he would like get a job and get it together and all this. And so I agreed, but I still kept my appointment because I knew I didn't want to have a baby with this person. So I went to the appointment for the abortion, and I found out I was too far along, and I didn't want to do an abortion that was, it didn't feel right. It was like easier if I could just take a pill and be done with it, but the timing wasn't right, and so I just decided to keep the baby. And not because I thought that this man was going to be supportive or ever be able to, fully embody a father for the child, but I decided to keep the baby because I knew that I could do both roles and support the child on my own. So I did not mean to share this much of the story, so I'm going to stop with the personal part and start talking about how I got out of the relationship. So it basically, I'm not sure, because he told me that he really wanted to be with me, and we had like a little weird marriage, like a little wedding that was not legal, but I call it a hippie wedding, where we committed to each other and honored each other's, both of our needs for the relationship. And what he presented to me sounded like I could do that. He's a musician, so he was going to be off at shows and going out on tours and things. And the promise to each other was that we were going to be monogamous, and that's what I was expecting. So it ends up that I was monogamous, but he wasn't. And he had an ongoing relationship with another woman since pretty much the whole time we were together, which he kept hidden from me. But I was having dreams of her and other women, and when I would tell the dream to him, he said I was crazy and insecure, and just a lot of really weird things happened in that time, which I'm not going to cover here. But when shit hit the fan, as it always does at some point when somebody's not being honest, it's like all things will reveal themselves in time. I was in a lot of pain. It hurt me a lot when he left. He moved out of my house and stopped borrowing my car and stopped living rent-free and stopped eating all my food. And I was so sad. And I just, one of the ladies that I was seeing was like, oh, so are you worried that another woman will be able to lend her car to him and another woman will be letting him live rent-free in her house? Like, are you, you worried about that? And when she said that, I was like, I shouldn't be, but I am for some reason. So it was really hard and strange. And that was in 2013. And I was interacting with him until 2015, till the summer of 2015. And we were never back together. We were never a couple again. Like, we broke up in 2013. We never got back together. But we never fully cut the ties. And I still was enabling him. You know, if he came with me to the grocery store, which for some reason he often would end up with me at stores, he would just put his stuff on the belt and I would pay for it. And then he would say, like, oh, I'll pay you back later. And he never would. So I kept a little, like, I have a journal of all the times that I paid for something for him, and the amount of money that we agreed that he would pay for child support, which was $160 a month, that he quit paying in that summer of 2015 when I finally quit basically sleeping with him, because that, I guess, was the weird kind of setup that we had, was that we weren't officially in a relationship, but he was the only person who I had been with, and he was, you know, the father of my child. And we had this weird relationship. Like, I was paying for things and I would sleep with him. I feel like that was for me. Like, I don't feel like he was using me for that. I felt more like I was using him for that. If anything, if anybody was being used for sex, it definitely wasn't me, I don't think. But when I cut that off, he quit giving me child support. So the $160 a month, which, as anybody knows, doesn't actually cover anything, living in San Diego especially, he quit paying that. So I just kept a book of, you know, $160 from July all the way till February 2016. It's really not that much money, but he's not going to pay that. He's not, and that's okay. I don't care about that because, number one, it's really not that much money. And number two, I feel so relieved to not have the addiction anymore. So I'm going to leave this as part one because I may not ever want to share this with the public. So the part two video is where I'll share the techniques and the steps and tools that I use to get out of this addictive pattern in a relationship. Thank you for watching this. If it ever is public, you can please like it, subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for listening.